Hey guys, this is the Desert Admiral coming to you from sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. Hope everybody's having a great New Year's Day weekend, the beginning of a long weekend, so I hope you're enjoying it. All right, today is another Desert Admiral Christmas present video day. This one's all about airplanes. Uh, Basically, how the planes come from the two different, actually, the one site, Tumbling Dice, which I'll go ahead and put a link into this video. And everything that goes into preparing them. So, without further ado, airplanes. So, I'm going to go ahead and tilt the camera here to get this ready. Got my little trusty workspace. Got a variety of planes on it that you can see. But I'm going to go ahead and start off with how these planes come. So, these planes come from a website called Tumbling Dice. It's located in England. And these are pewter. These are made out of pewter. These are pewter airplanes, but look at the awesome detail on these planes. I'll turn it around. This is a Russian PE-8 bomber. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The weight is awesome. The amount of weight that's in it, as well as just the attention to detail and the crafting of this thing. It's awesome. Just makes you not be able to wait till the next time to get this thing ready and bombing the crap out of your enemies. So yeah, this is what these come as. So I have several different steps I take to get my planes ready, and I will go ahead and show you what I do. Here's a good example of a plane that I'm looking for. Okay, so these planes are produced, like most metal things, out of molds. Okay, and I'm just kind of bending this outwards to just show you. So off of this wing right here, you can see a couple little metal strands that are coming off of it, like so. Okay, so the first step when you get these planes is to go ahead and clean them. And for cleaning, I just use a little Dremel grinder tool. Actually, you can see the word Dremel right there. In case you're wondering, Dremel just means small tool. So you can have a Dremel grinder, you can have a Dremel drill press, that kind of punches down. So this is just something I bought at Home Depot or Lowe's. I think it was probably Lowe's for $20, and you can get it. It comes with several different tops, and the top or the attachment that you're looking for is the grinding top. So there is like a little metal rod one for grinding, but it's not all that great. And I want to give a thanks and shout out to Leatherneck for teaching me this initially. So yeah, just go ahead and take this. So there you go. There's the plane right there. And now, when you're doing this, you can see it's all nice and clean on the edges. You want to make sure that you do all of the edges, not just things that are sticking off. Not that it's that big of a deal, but I'll pull that Russian bomber out again, and you may be able to see, I'm not sure, but on my left right here, you can see how these lines are nice and clean between the main fuselage and the wing. And then on this side, yeah, I think you can still see it. There's a little bit of a kind of a curve down and then a kind of a curve back up. And even though it's not like a big string thing sticking off, what that is that's part of the mold as well, or flashing from the mold. So to get some nice, clean, sharp edges on your planes, you just want to take your Dremel and grinder tool and just go along each one of these edges in between, all like that. And you'll get a nice sharp edge like this. Okay. All right. So, you know, the end result that we're looking for, of course, is something like this. German bobber with, I got some water decals on there, water slide decals on the wings. Those nice white crosses, or iron cross, not white cross. So my first step is to paint the planes, obviously. And I'm going to take this German plane right here. So I just showed you a completed German bomber, but I have painted this plane right here. Now you can use different kinds of paint. You can use a semi-gloss, a gloss, or just kind of a flat finish. For this one I've used a gloss. You also need to decide at the very end what kind of clear coat protective you're going to use. And I've only seen those come in gloss and matte, so no gloss. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just take my plane, and you guys can see that pretty good still right there. And I have my water slide decals right here. You can see I've already used some of the water slide decals. Now, I buy mine from Historical Board Gaming, and there's two kinds of water slide decals. So I'm going to pull these out right here. Okay. So there's two different companies worth of water slide decals that came from Historical Board Gaming. There's this one that's called Decal Details. And inside Decal Details, there are two different kinds of water slide. And I'm going to show you the two different kinds. There is this kind, which is also the same as my iron crosses. Okay. Now on these, each one of these iron crosses itself is just like a small water slide decal that comes right off the paper. Meaning if I cut one of these iron crosses off, just the decal itself slides off. Don't ask me why this is the case, but it is. I've found that there's two different kinds of paper or water slides that come from Decal Details. And they're differentiated by the different color of paper in general. This confused the heck out of me when I first started. One is kind of this lighter color, and then one is kind of this sort of hazier color. I'd ordered some Italian symbols that came in this kind of darker, hazier color as well. And the difference between the two is this, is that these iron crosses slide off individually. This is all one water slide sheet. So these kind of stars and bars are not individual slide offs. The paper, all the surrounding paper is a part of it. And what you have to do is you have to get a small X-Acto knife and cut out the item from the paper, because if not, and you try and slide it off, you're going to get paper and the item as well. Now, of course, you can use some small scissors and cut as closely around this as possible, but in general, you want to have as little paper around it after you apply it to the wing or whatever you're applying it to, so that you minimize any kind of possible wrinkle effects on your piece, or anything else that can kind of show up from having too much paper on it. So don't ask me why. I mean, this came as decal details, and this comes as decal details, and that comes as decal details. These are all individual items. This is not, as well as my Italian decals that are around here. They are not either. So, and you can kind of look at the paper to see. I mean, I can look at this paper, and you can see. I mean, you can't see through the camera, but if you look at it closely, you can see they are separate and sort of cut out. Okay. Also, from Historical Board Gaming, they have this different companies, combatminiatures.org, water slide decals, and I presume you can probably just go to that website and order these direct, but they do sell these on HBG's website, and these are all one sheet as well. So once again, you have to get an X-Acto knife to cut these out if you want those. Yeah, and these beautiful Italian flags, they're these combat miniatures as well. So, yeah. Okay. All right, without further ado, I'm excited. I'm excited to go ahead and show you guys this. Now, I will point out to everybody that our friend Detroit has a pretty good video on doing this. So if you're interested in watching his video, please slide over to his YouTube channel and check it out. Pardon me for a second while I get organized. So there's several different ways to do this. Now, the way I like to do it, if it's possible at all, is I like to do it. I like to cut out one decal itself. Now, Detroit had cut several out and then put them in the water, which I'm going to scoot this over so you can see my water. And he put the decal sheet in the water and then kind of let these float off, or maybe used a toothpick or something to slide these off. You can do that. It's perfectly acceptable. Sometimes I get a little nervous that maybe they might curl up or I might mess up. Detroit's probably been doing this a lot longer than I have. But what I do is this, is I take my decal, and then I'll take a toothpick here in a second, but I take the decal first, and I just hold it in the water. Typically takes about 20 seconds. You want to make sure that you hold it in the water long enough that it will slide off, because if you try and slide it off before it's ready, you might rip it or put a little tear in the decal itself. So, while this is soaking, I'm going to have a drink of Corona. Help out my face. My face is actually feeling much better. I'm getting all kinds of jokes about it. Okay. All right. So I've soaked it. It should be long enough. And then I tap it on the little bowl of water just to get any excess water off. And the reason I do that is because if there's too much water on the surface you're trying to put it, like the wing or whatever, sometimes this kind of thing will float around. And then I just use my toothpick. I slide it off the paper. Oops, this one's got a lot of water. And onto the wing. Now, if it has a lot of water, it will bubble up and kind of float, which can make it hard to put it in its final position. So I'll just use a Kleenex and just gently dab. In fact, all you almost really have to do is just barely touch the surface and the decal, and it'll soak up that extra water. And then so now it's got just enough water on the surface to take my toothpick and move it around to exactly where I want. Okay. And voila, I've got my first iron cross on there. I'm going to go ahead and do my second one. And, and by the way, when you're doing it, of course, you want to try and get it in the correct position off the bat that you want it. But don't panic. Let's say you're doing this and you put it on and then you come back later and you're like, oh crud, man! What was I smoking when I put that thing on there? This one's not centered or this one's way too far over. No problem. All you have to do is actually just dab some water on top of that water decal that's been previously dried, and that thing will move once again right on top of the surface that it's on. So I kind of discovered that by accident. But yeah, you can go back as many times as you want and do that. All right, so here's my second iron cross that I'm waiting for. It's been a good bowl season for my teams. I went to the Naval Academy for undergrad and University of Texas for graduate school, and the Naval Academy crushed Virginia 49-7. They won without even completing one pass, and they only attempted one pass, actually. But that's Navy's triple option offense right there for you. And we got another good bowl game coming up here in a little bit. All right, here comes my second iron cross. Okay. This one, there's not that big water bubble. Actually, there's a little bit more of a water bubble than I thought. So once again, I just take my Kleenex and I dab it. You don't want to push it down too hard because you don't want the water decal sticking to your Kleenex. Which, I don't know, I don't know if it's that big of a worry because I've never had the water decal stick to my Kleenex before. So I dabbed off the water. And I move it onto exactly where I want it. Just going to dab it a little bit more so that you guys can see. So there's my plane. Kind of got some shininess from the lights with its fearsome iron crosses on it now. Beautiful. Now we are, once this thing dries and we're getting close to go bombing for Sea Lion or bombing Moscow as we push on in. Okay. Now, once you've done all that, there is one last step you want to do with your planes. And they need, and trust me, I've learned this the hard way, you need to buy a protective coating for it. You can buy I'm not sure if Home Depot or Lowe's sells them, but I got mine. It's like a little small can from a hobby shop. You can probably get it from Michael's, I don't know, or maybe Hobby Lobby. But it's just a protective sealant, kind of like varnish that you would put on top of something you stained or some wood that you've stained. You really, really need it because if not, what happens is when you put your planes in the box, they rattle against each other. I moved my iron cross there, shoot. And then the paint will kind of chip away on you. Also, the decals are fragile and they will chip also or get marked up. So you want to go and buy a clear coat protectant spray. You can also buy brush on if you want, but the spray seems to work just fine for me. And it's really easy to do. You can buy them, at least so far that I've seen, they come in gloss or matte. So there you go. All right, so there we go. We have a nice painted, and I have not put my clear coat on yet, but painted German bomber. Now, one other thing, if you want to go fancy and magnetize your planes, which I talked about before, I bought a drill press that I got from Lowe's for about $110 or whatever, and I've got a new batch of planes right here. I just drilled a hole in here. It's kind of a little bit blurry to see, I guess, and you can see that there's some stuff sticking out around where I drilled the hole. What I go and do is I get a magnet and then glue that magnet in. You want to make sure that you watch for the side of the magnet you put it on so that you have the same polarity on all your planes and then the opposite polarity on your aircraft carriers. So the planes will stick to the aircraft carriers and not repel. And then once you glue the magnet in, just use your grinder to clean up that trash that's around the site right there. So there we go. That's what I know about airplanes. Thanks again to Leatherneck for turning me on to the Tumbling Dice website and teaching me about the grinder stuff. I will go and post the Tumbling Dice website in the description of this video. They have tons and tons and tons of planes, both modern and World War II and World War I on this website. So just whatever your heart's desires, you can find there. So hope this was helpful to everybody. I have one more Christmas present, one that's coming up, video that's coming up. It's going to be ships. And then a little bit later one I'll have, but it's not going to be in the next couple of days. I'll have one for my own custom board that I'm going to have printed out. I know that this has been on, Grasshopper's done that and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just going to tell you exactly what I ordered and how much it cost me and all that kind of stuff. So I look forward to talking to you later and talking to you in my next video. Admiral out.